Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Your Legislators, a production of KRWG Broadcasting. Your Legislators is a public service program providing our viewing and listening audiences in southern New Mexico the opportunity to hear about important legislative issues directly from their elected representatives in Santa Fe. Now here is your host, Carlos Correa.
Hi everybody, I'm Carlos Correa. Welcome to another edition of Your Legislators here on KRWG. And joining me now this week from Santa Fe via satellite is Representative Andy Nunez. Representative, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Lawmakers have been now at work for about 2 weeks now. Tell me, what's it been like so far?
Well, we're having a hard time in getting all parties together, I think. And we're working on budgets primarily. We turned in the committee I'm on, the transportation budget, and then on the other committee, the education budget. And I don't think the education budget is going to get too far the way we sent it, from what I gather. And but we've just been working on getting this budget put together, and then some other bills, coming in. And we really haven't been moving very fast. It kind of worries me because that means we're going to do everything the last 2 or 3 days of the session. Yeah.
Now, it's a 30-day session. Tell me a little bit about what the holdup is. Why isn't things moving as fast as you would like?
Well, in the first place, when you come in and you get all these bills and they assign them to committees, the committees are just now starting to meet. But we get on the floor of the House and we're in there maybe 35, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, and then we're through. And we really don't get anything. We should be getting some bills off the floor and getting some more business done. And we're just moving too slow. And I'm not one that likes to do that.
Gotcha. Now, the economy is something that a lot of people have been talking about, especially this week after the President's State of the Union address. Representative, how do lawmakers here in New Mexico plan to improve job growth here?
Well, the oil and gas has done a little better, and we've got a little bit more money, according to Senator Smith and the Senate finance people. And I think we're all right. And the budget that they presented, I think, has a 10% reserve, which is excellent. And I think as long as we keep it there, and shuffle money around from one agency to the other, the one that needs it the most, I think we're going to be in good shape, at least for the time being. Hopefully the economy don't go south again, but I think it's going to be okay.
What does the state need to do in terms of getting businesses to set up shop here in New Mexico?
Well, there's a few bills that are out there, and I think the governor has one, for example, that to give tax credit to small businesses, and that might help getting some more business and help the ones that we have here expand. I think that's real important. If we help our small businesses expand in the state of New Mexico, then they can afford to hire more people. But there are a few bills there to help the economy, like some tax credits, and there may be, we may get those out.
What would you say to families out there who are suffering through this economy, who may be losing a job or in the future of losing a job?
Well, that's the thing that, if you get business moving, they'll start hiring. And then that's what we need to do is get more business coming into New Mexico and improve the ones we have here. And then they can hire more people. But that's the only way to do it, I think, yeah.
Another thing that the Martinez administration is focusing on is improving education around the state. What are your thoughts about education here?
Well, I think that the education system in Las Cruces is probably as good as any of them. And I happen to be on what we call the Bridge Program board that's there in Las Cruces. And that school that we have out at the Arrowhead Center is one of the models I think the rest of the state ought to use. And I do have a bill introduced to get them a little bit of money. We've never gotten state money for that program. It's been mostly from donations from public-private industry. And that's in Las Cruces. And then of course, we got some bills out there for social promotion, and some of these that some people don't like and others do, and that's why I say in our education committee, which I'll be going to from here, there's been a lot of discussion on some of these bills.
Let's talk about one bill in particular, the controversial law on driver's licenses. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with that.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on with that. I had a 3.5 hour committee hearing on it yesterday afternoon. And we had all of the police organizations in the state of New Mexico were here in support of the bill. And of course, I knew where it was going to go because of the committee that the speaker assigned it to. And but we debated that for about 3.5 hours, and then it was a 5-4 vote, which I'd have wanted a lot of money if someone wanted to bet me on it. And but it's not over yet. And there's a lot of discussion on it. You know, they keep trying to bring it up as an immigration bill. It is not an immigration bill. And all of the police organizations, the sheriffs, and all of them, you know, said this is a national security. And especially, I don't know whether you read or seen here a couple of 3 days or 4 days ago, where they got all these the people in Alamogordo bringing in Pakistanis. And there's Pakistanis from Poland, from China, Brazil, all over. And it's not just Mexico. And matter of fact, the biggest part of the problem is the ones from other countries.
So it's truly about keeping the state safe?
Absolutely.
What's your argument to families out there who think this is an immigration bill, as you discussed?
Well, that's because they don't understand the bill. That's what it is. All it is not allowing any more illegal people to get driver's license. And the ones that are here that have driver's license, the bill says that they're not going to go out and get them. And that's why we amended that last year to include that in there. Mm-hmm. And so, and the students that are here, they can get a driver's license as long as for the period of time that they're here. And anyone that come a work visa people, they can get a driver's license as long as, you know, for the period of time that they have permission to be in the United States. It's just those that are coming in illegally trying to create problems and most of them are those kind of people.
Why did you decide to back this bill up?
Well, not to back this bill up. This was my bill since the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because I'm the mayor pro tem of Hatch, and we have a motor vehicle division office there. And I seen way back then that they were bringing in carloads of people from all over because we're one of 2 states that allow this. Anyway, they were bringing them in by the carload there to Hatch to get driver's license. And so we done, because we're not a state agency, we're a contract agency, we didn't have to accept those. So we don't take any folks, you know, that aren't New Mexico citizens. And that's the important thing. They have to be New Mexico citizens to get a New Mexico driver's license.
As you mentioned, your bill was rejected on a 5-4 party line vote. What's your next move for this?
Well, I've got a couple of options, and I'd rather not put them out to the public because then the opposition may want to try to do them. But, you know, last year, same thing happened. We knew what was going to happen. And then we got it down on the floor, and I blasted it off of the floor, which has never been done. And we blasted it out, and it passed by a large margin. And we sent it over to the Senate, and that's where it died. But we'll let the Senate decide. And I'll get it over there, I believe.
Why do you think this bill affects a lot of people in terms of how they feel about this law?
Well, all of the polls we see, I say over 70% of the people tell us that we shouldn't be issuing these driver's licenses to illegals. And so I think it's going to affect quite a few of the people, indicate that they want this bill to get through.
I'm curious, when you first introduced this bill, what type of feedback did you get from voters out there?
Oh, great. I get emails and letters and that. I have been since the very beginning. I have people from all over the state come up here to see me just for this bill and tell me, and then they call me at home and everywhere and tell me, you need to get this thing through. And so I try to do what the constituents tell me, but I also believe that there's a better way to do things than we're doing it now. And for the people that want to know, I voted for that bill originally to give driver's license to them. But like I was telling someone, you know, everyone's entitled to a mistake, and I made one.
What about those groups, organizations, and those individuals who initially called this bill racist? What would you say to them?
I just tell them it's not racist. I'm a Hispanic myself, And you know, and we're not. It's not that. It's all about public safety, and they just don't understand that. And some of them will say that, and there's a few of them that still think it is. And kind of like the committee we had it in front yesterday, most of them think that's what it is, and it has nothing to do with race. That's why I say we have from Poland, China, Germany, Brazil, and East Indies, and everywhere else. How can it be racist? You know, they try to say it's anti-Mexican, but it's not.
Gotcha. Now, in terms of finalizing the budget, what needs to happen in terms of getting things done before this session ends?
Oh, I think they'll get it done pretty soon. The appropriations, where the main appropriation bill comes out of, they've been meeting every day late into the night. That is one committee that's really been working hard. And they're getting all of the budgets from the different agencies. And what they do, they know we got so much money, and they know so much money we're going to put into reserve, and then they're going to sit there and work it out, and they normally do. Some agencies won't like it, but others are be happy with it, and we just got to live within the means. That's it.
In Governor Martinez's State of the State address recently, she mentioned that New Mexico's financial house is in order. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's better than it was, because we got revenues are up a little bit, and there's a lot of people since she got into, you know, agencies have cut back and have had to, because she tells all her agencies, you know, I want a flat budget to come in, and that's what they're doing, and so it's in good shape right now. It's not the best in the world, but it's better than a lot of states.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the news about Speaker Lujan and his condition? Is that going to impact this session or future sessions, do you think?
Oh, yes. I'll tell you what's going to impact, I think it's going to be more, is going to be the elections this summer. You know, I believe that's what's going to, this year. I think the elections are going to make a big change in how the House is, and of course we'll have a new speaker next year, and we may have a lot of new members also, which I think is going to be the case. And I think the dynamics as far as the balance of Democrat and Republican is going to change considerably. I really believe that.
Gotcha. Now tell me a little bit about some of the bills that you are introducing this legislative session in terms of the Water Project Funds Project.
Well, I don't, because I'm not on the Agricultural and Water Committee. That's one of the committees that the Speaker pulled me off of. I support all the water bills that come out, but the one bill that I do is it's a Water Project Fund, and I introduce that every year. That's where the Water Trust Board comes out every year and awards certain monies to different water projects throughout the state. And I carry that bill every year, and I want to have it on the in-House Ag Committee Monday. And so I'll be presenting that one. But as far as water and some of the others, I'm not in there because, like I say, I'm not on that committee. But I do support them, and I will continue to support them because I think that water is the biggest problem we have in the state.
The community college election procedures is another bill that you introduced, correct?
Right, that's another bill that I'm carrying. And then what this is to allow some of the, like Doña Ana Community College and some of those that can't, in other words, they're not like the private two-year schools where we go out and get bond money and mill levies. And so what we're trying to do is put the community colleges at an equal footing. If, for example, in Ruidosa, they have that Eastern New Mexico branch there, community college, but they're servicing people from Corona, Carrizosa, and everywhere that really aren't contributing or can't contribute to support the programs there. And so if they wanted to, they could request from the parent institution that they want to have a bond issue to support their program so that they get more programs in their communities. And so that's what this bill is.
What about the Doña Ana County Educational Initiative?
That one there that's the bridge program. Are you familiar with that there in Las Cruces?
Yes, sir.
That we have at well, that's what that bill is. And to me, that's one of the best programs in the state as far as education. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to get some state money to help us out. The state has never contributed to that program. It's been private industry and some of the local school districts. And the university. And it's about time that the state contributed a little bit because they want us to expand it statewide. And so we're working with some other communities. Our executive director, Tracy Bryan, she's working with some others, try to get this moving, make it statewide.
How do you think we can begin to fix the educational problem around the state?
Well, that's one way. You know, we got a high dropout rate, and that's how the bridge started, is because of the high dropout rate. And we need to do that. And, you know, I support the school teachers. They've supported me forever. But, you know, I'm one of those folks that don't believe that money is the only thing going to solve all issues. We need to change some of the methods that we've been working that aren't working, and try to get some new methods in the teaching. And I'm on the education committee, as I indicated, and there's a few people in that committee that I really depend on because I've never been a K-12 individual, and I believe them when they tell me what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, because they've been in the trenches. Yeah.
What do you think contributed to the problems that education is having in New Mexico?
Now, repeat that again.
What do you think contributed to the problems that we're having with education in New Mexico?
Oh, I think there's a lot of factors, and part of it is that I think you know, in a lot of the rural communities, for example, they don't have enough teachers that are trained, and but you know, it's amazing how some of these rural schools put out the best students. But I think that teacher training is real important, and I believe that they've got some initiatives, you know, to assist the teachers to go out and get some additional training while they're teaching. And I think it's continuing education is real important, and I think that's been one of the things that there hasn't been money in there for that. And so hopefully we can get some money in there where they can do that.
In her address, Governor Martinez mentioned that the state has sold the jet, and so some of the money used to maintain it will be put towards buying books for, I believe, first graders. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I guess it's all right. I don't know but I think she needs to go, you know, of course she'll be going through the public education department, but there's money in there. We've been battling in the budget money for books, and so I don't know whether that money would go into the general fund, you know, the pot for books, or whether she wants to do that separate. And I haven't seen it. That it hadn't been presented to us yet, but as long as it goes to schools, that's fine with me. Yeah.
The schools in your community where you represent, how do you see education there?
Well, I think the education is fine. We need some improvements, you know, in Hatch, which I represent, and I represent, of course, some of the Las Cruces also. Mm-hmm. But in Hatch, we've had a problem maintaining and keeping superintendents. And I don't know, we've had 4 or 5 in the last 4 or 5 years, you know, and it's pretty hard to continue programs, you know, when you don't have continuity in the administration. And that's my concern in Hatch, and I'll let the school board know, and hopefully we're going to get something improvement there.
Why do you think there's such a fast turnaround there in terms of administrators leaving?
Well, and one thing is most of the administrators don't even live in Hatch, because there's not a lot of place for Hatch. There's no nightlife, and so they live in the previous one, you know, she lived in El Paso and drove up, and then when they took the car away from her, she got mad, so they fired her, and it's one thing or another, and I don't want to go into a lot of the personal things about it, but that's got a lot to do with it.
Why do you think that we need more schools like the early college high school around the state?
Because I think it would improve, keep those kids, you know, the dropout rate is tremendous all over the state. And these employers, they can't find anybody to work, and we need to train some people. And that early school that we have there in Las Cruces is one way that is really working. And I wish that Superintendent Rounds was here to explain to you the percentage. I believe of the first 120 or so students, in the first year, I don't think they've had 1 or 2 have dropped out. The rest of them are still there.
Why do you think, in your words, why do you think education, rather education around the state is important to focus on for this legislative session?
Well, we need to focus on making a few changes in the way the education system has been operated. And the new cabinet secretary for education is bringing in some new ideas that are pretty controversial. And I don't know how many of them are going to get through. But we need to, the status quo isn't working, and we need to do something. And hopefully, but you can't jump into it in a big way, I think. It's going to take a little at a time. And this is my first year on the education committee, and I'm learning a lot about what the concerns of the teachers are, the administrators, and the others. So, and the parents. We have a lot of parents come in and give us their ideas, and so we're going to have to listen to them and make some changes.
Representative Nunez, let's talk about your bill that you introduced, No Federal Wilderness Near Border. What's that?
What that is to ask the federal Congress to not declare any more wilderness areas along the border, like, you know, the bill that's been fighting there in Las Cruces for 2 or 3 years, you know, because that's another public safety. And I got some maps and some information on my desk that shows, you know, that the wilderness areas, once they declare a wilderness area, you're limited what you can even do or go, and that's the Border Patrol also. And so that's what that is, asking the Congress to sit back and take a better look at it and not do it.
And then you also have one that's unaffiliated voters in primary election?
Right, yes, that bill is one that is to, you know, there's several states that have open primaries, that's what they call them. And that independents can vote in the primary. Right now we can't in New Mexico. An independent can't vote in the primary. And so this bill is to allow them to vote in the primary, but they have to select what the party they're going to vote for. And so that's where I'm coming from on that. And you know, I'm a independent type. I'm a declared a state position. And but it won't be good this year. It's going to take 2 or 3 years. If we get it through, it's got to go to the voters. And I think it ought to be up to the voters if they want to allow independents to vote. And in Las Cruces, I believe the independent voters are over 20%, but they're disenfranchised. They can't vote in the primary. And so this would allow those folks to vote in the primary, and that's what that's about.
And speaking of, you recently changed parties. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to do that.
Become an independent?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I've always been in the middle of the road. I didn't always pay attention to the Democratic Party caucus, and I didn't always, or most of the time, didn't pay attention to or listen to the Republican side. And so being an independent, I listen to both sides, and then I make my own decisions. I don't have to go along with the party caucuses up here. And I've done that primarily because the Democratic Party in Santa Fe, in the legislature and the House of Representatives, were pretty much done what the Speaker says, always have been. And I don't go along with that. And so when he removed me from my 2 committees and put me on some other committees, and so I decided I didn't need to be a Democrat anymore. And so not as long as I'm up here, so I'm an independent.
Has that changed the views of your voters, of the voters in your community?
I don't think so, because they still call me and come to see me all the time and congratulate me, and the biggest part of them. And so I think I'm okay. And I don't have to, you know, I carry bills for the governor, and I carry bills for the Democrats, and I carry bills for the Republicans. And so I work all sides, and I haven't changed my voting methods at all. And I'm still the same individual. I just don't have to go along with the caucuses, you know, as I did before.
In the few minutes we have remaining, can you look into the crystal ball and tell us a little bit about the future for the rest of the legislative session?
Well, I think we're going to get a few things done. We're not going to get, we've got a big agenda. I don't know, I think it was 400 and something bills as of yesterday in the House, and it's more, I understand, than it's ever been done in a 30-day session. And so I don't know how many of those are going to ever survive, because we don't have the time. And what worries me is they're not moving I don't know we've had the first bill or so on the floor of the House yet. And if we don't start getting them heard and approved and sent over to the Senate, they'll never make it. And the Senate hadn't sent any over either. And everybody says, well, it's the second week or so, but we need to get moving. So looking into that crystal ball, I don't see a lot of bills going to get through this session.
Is there a place where the people in your community can access information about what's happening up there in Santa Fe?
Well, there is I don't have it on me, but there's the legislative website up here. They can call and get in all this information. And you know, all the committee hearings are being webcast, and so they can get those also.
All right, Representative Nunez, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, and look forward to getting back home.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we let you go?
No, I just want to let the folks out there know that I'm going to be up here working for them, and my door is open, my phone is open. They call me and have any concerns to let me know, and I'll try to do what I can. I'll listen. I always listen. I don't make any promises, but I will listen. And I would like for them, the more I hear from the folks, the better off I am.
Wonderful. Thank you, Representative. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm Carlos Correa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Your Legislators is a production of KRWG Broadcasting. Copyright New Mexico State University Board of Regents.